So how's that special relationship going under President Trump? He's over in Great Britain, and the president's urging customers to dump AT&T. We've also got Congressman Matt Gaetz getting a frosty surprise.
Team Rising is here to drop some knowledge. Andrew Feldman's Democratic strategist. He previously served as political director to John Delaney, who we got to talk to earlier today. That was fun stuff. Madeline Osburn up in the house. She's a staff writer at the Federalist and the producer of the Federalist Radio Hour. Welcome to both of you, Andrew and Madeline. Thank you so much for being here. Madeline,
welcome to the show.
Thanks, Steve.
Trump in the UK, the Queen, the tea, the crumpets. What do you think about all this?
A lot of hilarious photos coming out. I'm not sure how much of it is just Twitter reacting versus how much the rest of the world cares, but that's just me.
I think it's the third time ever that there's been this specific kind of invitation to a U.S. president from the Queen.
Yeah,
May she reign forever.
Yeah.
Whatever they say.
I'm sure the Queen is regretting her decision at this point. I just think it
Are you really going to hate on Trump visiting to the UK?
Yes.
How?
You know Trump loves.
Wait, how?
Absolutely.
He's commemorating the 25th anniversary of D-Day.
Okay, look.
That seems like a big deal.
If you think about what's going on, right, you're having him visiting. The day before, he criticizes Meghan Markle, and
That's
you
not
have
what happened.
protests going on. You have protests going on in the streets with Trump baby in the air, Trump on a toilet tweeting, rolling through the streets, and Trump is saying at the same time that he has improved our standing in the world. I mean,
There are morons everywhere. So there's some people
no, it's
dragging
not
around.
morons.
They're
It's
dragging
thousands
around
of
Trump.
people.
Oh, thousands of them. They're dragging around a fat Trump baby blimp. Who cares? He shouldn't go to the UK because of that. Come on.
I think that they're hiding a lot of differences going on, right? He meets with yesterday with Prince Charles. Prince Charles has been an adamant proponent of climate change for years. I mean, this is all a bunch of fluff.
morons, yeah.
This is just all a bunch of fluff.
Wow, anti-Prince Charles.
No, Prince Charles is straight up dumbass.
I am anti this visit.
Straight
absolutely.
up dumbass. All right,
Madeline, the question for me is, I think Donald Trump loves this kind of stuff, right? He craves to be with big, powerful people in big, powerful moments. Are the Brits just caving in to the Trump ego, or are we going to get some work done here? I mean, May is leaving her job in 2 days.
I think the timing is interesting that he is showing up there at the end of these Brexit negotiations. He says he wants to make a deal, but May is leaving, so I don't really see that happening. I don't know. I do think, back to your point about the crowds rioting, I saw something about the mayor of London saying that Trump was a fascist, and just the irony that he's there on the 75th anniversary of D-Day when the U.S. and Britain literally came together to defeat Nazis and fascism. Like, I don't understand how
Sounds like an appropriate day to bring it up to me.
I mean, look, I have not felt as uncomfortable with our leader going to meet world leaders as I ever. I mean, we criticized George Bush when he was, big talking point for Obama in 2008 was, changing our standing in the world, right? We need that more now than ever before.
Oh, okay, whatever. He's not bowing. That's the good news. So let's
No,
get
but
to.
didn't he salute somebody? I think he did something similar. Last week. But anyway, we'll put the pictures.
His hand gestures are always
Buck, I'm not really
Put it on our website.
Buck, you're not really engaging with me today.
No, I'm engaging. It's just like the Meghan Markle thing. Come on, man. No one thinks that's real. No one thinks that's serious.
How about when
British tabloids.
How about when he criticized Theresa May last year, right before
He's a world leader. He criticizes other world leaders. Who cares?
No.
Brits
on Twitter every moment.
That doesn't mean he's starting a war.
I'm not saying we're going to war I'm not saying we're going
like you talk about the world standing point, and I mean, you look at the two previous administrations fighting wars without an honest strategy about how to end them. The Obama administration escalated dramatically in Afghanistan for purely domestic political purposes. We lost a lot of Marines in Helmand and Kandahar because Obama wanted to look like a tough commander-in-chief. We started a war in Libya that we had absolutely no business in starting. Don't even get me started on Bush. I know we could spend the next hour talking about Bush's wars and things he did. Trump hasn't done any of that, but he's the bad guy when it comes to the world standing. He's the bad guy when it comes to
wars that determine your world standing.
I think that's probably the single most important thing. I think most people would agree that starting unnecessary wars or fighting wars badly is much more important than saying something about Meghan Markle being nasty.
I will say the thing about Trump that is concerning on that global stage you just mentioned is the president does poke and needle and undermine our relationships with a lot of allies all the time. So the question becomes now, everything's fine. We don't have a major crisis. What happens when the United States needs to marshal forces to go attack a real problem? Are there going to be people sitting around the world saying, hey, buddy,
I don't think the Brits are going to say you're on your own in the war on terror because Trump said something mean about the Queen.
Look, but for example, the Queen is a very apolitical figure, right? I've watched the show on Netflix, The Queen, a lot, right? But she has.
It's a documentary.
All of my Queen analysis.
But here's the point. She made yesterday in their meeting. She made some references about NATO, about some of these institutions that Trump has railed for years that are so important to Great Britain, and they were not so subtle digs at Trump's comments over the last 2 years.
All right. So speaking of digs and comments, AT&T recently got some attention, Madeline, from the president. Did he tweet about this? Yes, he did, of course. I believe that if people stopped using or subscribing to AT&T, they'd be forced to make big changes at CNN, which is dying in the ratings anyway. It's so unfair with such bad fake news. Why wouldn't they act? When the world watches CNN, it gets a false picture of the USA. Sad. I will say that having been in a foreign country and watched a fair amount of CNN International, because I had actually no choice.
Were you stuck at an airport?
I was stuck in a hotel in China that didn't have anything CNN.
You could have shut it off.
CNN International, well, I wanted to see the news, and you're in a place where there's the Great Firewall, and you can't actually get the internet normally. And CNN International is anti-U.S. propaganda. It's pretty amazing. If you watch that as an American, we're going to war with Iran, we're going to war with North Korea. It's absolutely true.
We did send military to
Trump,
the Persian Gulf.
Wait, who?
We did send troops and ships to the Persian Gulf.
I knew was there a war? Did a single shot get fired in anger?
No, but I mean,
I'm telling you, CNN was
people
like, war drums, oh my God, we're going to war with everybody all the time. It was ridiculous. So, Madeline, the people are saying the president's going after a private company here. To this, I just say, this is Trump, and he's going to say what he wants to say about things he wants to say.
I agree. I think he has countless numbers of tweets about the media and CNN and fake news and the enemy of the people. And journalists always set their hair on fire anytime that he tweets something about this. And yet he has yet to actually enact a single policy that actually restricts freedom of the press, versus the last president actually subpoenaed reporters and wiretapped reporers and would never fulfill FOIA requests.
How about the lawsuit against CNN and Jim Acosta and trying to take away his press pass? I mean,
that's our big First Amendment play, is that Jim Acosta didn't have his hard pass for a few days.
Trump has been more available to the press than any other president.
Yeah, because the judge said he gets his hard pass back for administrative procedural reasons.
And when was the last time they held a press conference?
Trump holds a press conference on the front lawn every single morning.
That's not.
Well, I like to bring up a bigger point here, which is it appropriate for the President of the United States, who's our biggest power, got the biggest megaphone, controls the biggest institutions in our society, to target individual companies, whether it was General Motors in the beginning of the administration to AT&T today, because he's unhappy with them for some reason? As a conservative, do you actually think the government should be going after individual companies in this way?
No, it's not appropriate, but this is the precedent that Trump has set. He's just going to talk
about
things.
Trump be Trump?
He's going to carry a big stick and not do anything, right?
Well, I mean, there's a difference in sharing his opinion and actually sicking the IRS on them. And when you say government taking action, he's not taking the action.
Well, he believes he is the government. He wants to. You remember when he wants to go after people for treason because they didn't like him, because they went after him? Because he believes he is the government.
He doesn't believe he is the government. I mean, he believes he is the chief executive of the government, which would be a true story. But okay, so you don't like the AT&T boycott thing, I'm assuming, Andrew.
Look, it doesn't surprise me. This is what Trump does, right? With companies he's happy with, when he says he's saving thousands of jobs, he tweets about that private company, and then we find out he's actually not really saving thousands of jobs. But anyways, the point is, I'm not a big fan of AT&T. I mean, AT&T, after these billions of dollars in tax breaks for companies, laid off workers, right? I mean, I'm not a huge fan of AT&T. I think Trump's looking to stick it to CNN any way he can, and we're going to see that continue until he probably dies.
If Barack Obama went after individual companies by name on Twitter or from the White House podium in any fashion, I think there would be a howl. There would be a howl from the right that would be deafening.
He did single out Fox News,
But-
the one channel that wasn't constantly giving him a back rub as being essentially not a journalistic enterprise.
And they
He did it
relented. I agree with you. That was a wrong move. They relented. They brought him back in.
I appreciate your consistency on this.
But the president, I think on the First Amendment points, I think most of us probably agree. I think the president, though, going after companies and affecting stock prices sometimes is something that's troubling.
I think AT&T's stock went up yesterday after he tweeted that.
That's because Americans are getting their acts together.
All right, so now maybe we'll be able to cut together this one. Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida was hit by a drink cup that was hurled through the air as he left the town hall this weekend.
Wasn't me.
The Trump ally and Fox News personality. I don't think he's technically a Fox News personality, guys. He just goes on. But he left the event in Pensacola Saturday and waded through a crowd of protesters. A cup filled with a red liquid sailed through the air and hit Mr. Gaetz, Congressman Gaetz. The drink was allegedly thrown by a former political rival. Police arrested and charged her with misdemeanor battery for allegedly being behind the projectile. The Pensacola News Journal reported all this, and the woman, the alleged drink thrower, has been released on bail for misdemeanor battery. Madeline, people just need to be nice to people.
They absolutely should. I mean, we're not surprised. This is not the first time this has happened. We see Tommy Lauren getting hit with water at restaurants. And when you have people like Maxine Waters and Eric Holder calling to kick people when they're down and to fight, I mean, are we surprised we're seeing things escalate?
Do you think this is all a result of President Trump saying from the podium when he was running for president, if you rough these guys up, don't worry, I'll pay for your legal fees?
Absolutely. I mean, look, you see what happens at Trump rallies all the time. The racism that goes on there, the hate of people that don't look like, the average white man standing in the crowd.
Have you ever been to a Trump
I was
rally?
going to say.
I've seen him on TV.
I've seen him on TV.
Trust me, I'm not going to Trump rally.
But I'm not going near a Trump rally. But also, will say that I do not think this was appropriate. Absolutely not. You shouldn't throw something at anyone. But this is happening because of the conversation and the furor that Trump is creating.
I need to understand. So, like, Sarah Sanders is chased out of restaurants. Stephen Miller has people protesting outside of his home. Tucker Carlson has people protesting outside because Trump
protest is different than throwing a drink at
showing up. Well, okay, but showing up at someone's home or a restaurant or harassing them. I mean, these are all activities.
Trump supporters.
These are happening because
they punch people at rallies. There's video.
Yeah, okay, but that was
what do you mean? Yeah, okay. No, they're still doing that. They're still doing that.
When was the last time a Trump supporter punched somebody?
I'm sure every day.
Let's just think about the context of the question. When was the last time a president of the United States supporter punched somebody at a political rally?
A Bernie Sanders supporter tried to kill basically every conservative member of Congress at a baseball field. I mean, like, we could play this game all day. But you're delusional.
No, this is where our discourse is, and it's here because of the president.
You think that there's more of this crazy rage? I mean, when was the last time? Here's a fun game. Last time a Democrat member of Congress was physically assaulted by a Republican was when? And yet here we are. This is what happened in Florida, and you're talking about how Trump said something mean at a rally in Chicago in 2016. Okay.
I would just say the question isn't whether or not political violence happens. It happens all over the place, and it's wrong whenever it happens. The question is the political leader trying to dampen down that kind of excitement, or are they trying to stoke it and prop it up? And the problem with President Trump is too often he says, "You go, guys, get them." And not say, "Hey, everybody, settle down. This is not how we are."
Not once has he denounced things like this ever.
I mean, well, I'm pretty sure. I'm sure if you asked him about Matt Gaetz getting hit with a milkshake, he'd say it was bad. I promise.
Because he's a Republican.
Well, I mean, you're saying not once.
But what about when the Democrat is targeted?
When was the Democrat targeted? This is the question. It doesn't happen. Your people are nuts. This is the problem. Your people have Antifa running around.
There were people who there were bombs sent to CNN and targeted Nancy Pelosi.
And the administration absolutely said this is terrible. This is go back and look.
Yeah,
absolutely. The White House officially.
The White House did the president. He is the embodiment.
A specific quote about what Trump said on that issue.
Do you think he actually enjoys that, like incites it and encourages it?
I don't know if he enjoys it or not. I think he sees political benefit in it, and he refuses to step up forward and to push his people back because he's trying to keep them happy
and keep them angry so they turn out to vote.
I think that's what he's doing.
I think we saw this all, but I thought we were all going to agree on how don't throw milkshakes at Matt Gaetz.
But don't throw milkshakes, people.
It is assault. It is mean.
Don't throw
And
milkshakes.
I wonder if he enjoyed the
Don't
taste
send
of it.
bombs to media organizations either.
And this guy over here, Feldman, you're a wild man today, dude. You're just causing all kinds.
I'm just trying to get
He
you.
just likes to
I'm trying to
come
get
and
under your.
He likes
under
to
your
wake. He
skin.
likes to wake me up in the morning and cause problems. Madeline and Andrew, thank you so much for
Great
being
to
here.
be
We
here.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
having
both.
us.
It's great. All right, coming up on Rising, we'll look at the various ways Londoners have given the president a lukewarm UK welcome.
And the longest Jeopardy streak in history ended not with a whimper, but with a 16th century playwright. We'll explain before we go.